Inja. Hey, hey. So it's a Friday night flow. If you feel me, let me know. Yeah. Yeah, hit the like, bro, button, bro, and sister, and what? So again, I'm coming black at you in the recovery room of Racism Not Anonymous. And yeah, I have so much to talk about anyway. Yet, I wanted to finish up from the last video. A couple of things I wanted to add, and I think you all know who I am. Sis Abena Africa, the recovering African who is culturally enslaved here in America, and who is a representative from the voices in the margins. True to the cause of African liberation via unification, utilizing the tool of healthy and effective communications. Yes, traumatologist that I am. Trauma queen and queen of trauma. And that is understanding trauma and traumatic stress, what it is and how it has and continues to work in the lives of African descendants. So, coming black at you, like I said, with a bit more about myself and you know, a foundation for understanding the things I would say about Umar's shit and Umar when I think about him and the shit and cleaning up the shit and me recognizing also that as a scatologist I would say I'm a shit talker. I'm just talking some shit, you know. Um, it seems Umar's shit is clearly thoroughly exposed all over the place. I suppose I know making it to World Star Hip Hop with that vid that got sit up there, dude. You pretty much really done, and it's time for you to kind of look at your shit and clean up your shit because it's some pretty it's a whole load of horse shit. A whole load of horse shit. Horses when they shit, they drop 3 and 4 big ass fucking balls that look like a whole goddamn universe, a whole worlds, big old hefty, funky, steamy shit. And your shit is just that funky and steamy. And you seem to know it because you seem to be aware of shit flies. Yes, we culture warriors, the culture warrior that I am, I'm a shit fly because I'm about cleaning up the shit and helping us heal and recover from shit. The type of shit that you are throwing out there, yeah? Traumatic stress of the human intentional type. Your intent is to hurt the people. Your intent, and you're clearly abusing your position and your power, misusing your words and your gift of gab, if you will, using it in a way so as to benefit yourself, to take from others and take some and with deception. Know damn well your ass has been lying. So your intent is clearly to harm. Because would people give you what you have gotten from them had it not been for the promise of a school for black boys? As if you are the very first, MF. This is this part of me that's working up right here is the part that is sort of thoroughly, disgustingly enraged with your shit, And, it's that Jenny spirit. What I recognize is that ginger spirit, that Jenny spirit. And that's the spirit and the energy of my mama. when she was juiced up. She'd cut your ass out. Yo, mommy had a mouth when she was juiced up. Yeah, don't get Ginger juiced up. Ginger get her gin and get juiced up. She gonna tell you some shit about yourself, yo. Straight up. Without concern or regard for how that may make you feel. Or for what that may make you feel. And just for the record, to my brother, a shout out to my brother D Sync. I can't DQ Sync. Anyway, my counter racist brother from the counter racism camp. I have connected, just for the record, I have connected with folks in so many areas. The counter racism camp, the UNIA, the Black Panther Party, the New Black Panther Party, on a professional level, scholars, on a professional level. I have signed books from people like Dr. Jawanzo Kanjufo, who wrote books countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys back in the 70s, early 80s and shit, time before Umar's time. He doesn't seem to know about brothers like this who had been doing the work and had done tremendous amounts of work on behalf of the African collective and specifically even young black males. Dr. Kanjufo wrote a whole 4 or 5 part series on countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys. And that the things that he talked about and noted in that series did require you to send your son to a particular school that Umar know good and flip-flopping well he could not ever be successful with opening in the cultural environment. And if that dude has 6 blasted college degrees, I'm certain he would have to know that. Because, it depends on us. Maybe my degree and background is in systems theory. So couple and family work on the PhD level is looking at the world from a systems perspective and recognizing how there are numerous systems and levels of shit that affect the individual. And we recognize how systems work. And certainly, if Umar had any understanding of systems theory, that he would absolutely know that what he has proposed and what he has been collecting money for the past 10 to 15 years is a falsehood. It was all a lie. It's a bunch of shit. Some real horse shit. And that's the deal. It's just outrageous. So I also come from a background, and so that I was gonna say about anyway, the counter racist scientists. One thing I want to clarify, I like to clarify, and I'm aware of the light. I hope it's not too bright and problematic when I move. One thing I want to clarify, it was sort of strongly suggested to me by the folks in the counter racist camp, the followers and the teachers of Brother Neely Fuller Jr. and his work that I also follow and sort of have integrated into certain my repertoire, as he said, my repertoire of knowledge and information. Okay. Yet what would happen for myself with the counter-racist scientists, they were very, very staunch in their assertion and their assessment that thoughts and feelings were the same thing. And I have, suggested otherwise and continue to hold up the notion that is otherwise, it's untrue. Thoughts trigger feelings, which then trigger behaviors. They go together. It's a 3-part process. It's not thought and feeling. They're not the same, because you can think about the same thing consistently, like every day, I have this thought, and each day I'm likely to see it from a different perspective and will have a different feeling about the same event. For example, let's see, if I think about the experience of, let's see, being hurt, domestic violence. Let me see if I could, that will work. Domestic violence, and I have a memory of being punched in the face. When I think about that memory, I may think about it from a perspective and feel a whole lot of anger. I may think about it from a perspective and think, that motherfucker punched me in my face out in front of, I will, you know what, I need to, and I will think about it from a perspective of the act of injustice that had taken place. The next day, I may think about that same event again, and what would cause me to think about it is, say I look in the mirror and I see the damage caused by the punch. And I look at that and I begin to immediately feel sad. Because I look at the loss of sort of perfection to my face. I look at the loss. My face was first without blemish, and now I have this huge bulging blemish. And it's like, oh, I can't believe this really happened. And how could he? The loss of my sense of safety with this person. And I feel sad when I think about the same event. That's the thought. I'm thinking about getting my ass kicked last night, punched in the face. And first I'm like, motherfucker, do you see what the hell he did? Or I look at it and say, look, this is awful. And or I may think about that same event and my heart begins to pick up and race, and I begin to feel a bit anxious and panicky because I'm like, is this shit going to happen again? Is it going to happen again? Am I safe? And I feel a sense of fear. And, a person could also think about that same event and they may feel a sense of relief, and even joy that this time it was only a black eye. And they think about how they got out of the situation becoming a bit more egregious, if you will. And they feel a sense of relief. So thoughts and feelings are very different. And our emotional response to our thoughts is where we as a people could benefit from a whole shitload of work, okay? A whole shitload of work. Now, when I'm using shit in this regard, because everything has a both and dynamic. It's this and it's that at the same time. Because there are times when we look at this stuff and it's like, that is the shit. Like, yes, there's something we want to keep. That is the sugar, honey, iced tea of it all. The sugar, honey, iced tea of it all. As opposed to the stress of the human intentional type. With that kind of shit, we want to clean up. We want to flush away. We want to straighten out. We may want to sift through to find the diamonds in that rough, right? And or we recognize it and we're using shit in the context of, yes, sugar, honey, iced tea, good stuff, something we want to keep, right? So that's kind of like just kind of wanted to have a free Friday flow. And, just talk a bit more with folks about, who I am and what this channel is about, what I hope to build and bring to the table, for those of us who are interested in understanding trauma and traumatic stress, really understanding what it is and how it works, how it has worked, how it continues to work. And the way it's continuing to work right now, the deal is, hurt people will hurt people. And we as a people have been hurt. wherever we are and everywhere we are on this planet. Black people have been hurt by some human intentional shit. And those humans just happen to be white folk, the European versus the African. They have consistently, and they documented it. The facts are there. The fact they documented all of their shit. It's one thing they seem to put a whole light on, is documenting that shit. And I'm seeing and so the proof is there. And for the brother Barn, who asked me about bringing facts about Umar in order to promote interest in the channel, I suppose, or something. I will present what I present, and you can be free to determine the facts of it all or not. So just like I said in the last video, from a narrative theorist perspective, he clearly is living a false and faulty story about himself, the story that he lives about himself, this story that he is blood kin to Frederick Douglass, that he is the most requested scholar. How are you the most requested scholar? You always asking people to find you a goddamn location. It's like, do you hear your silly self? Do you hear yourself? And excuse me, it's like I retract that. I want to delete the phrase silly self. I'm not one to comfortably talk about folks in a derogatory or negative sort of fashion. I'm gonna kind of just come with the facts. It seems a bit wacky. It seems a bit damn wacky, Umar, that you will continue to profess that you are the most requested scholar when you are consistently asking folk to locate a venue for you in their area. And so nobody's requesting you, you're requesting them to bring you into the scene. It's like, are you not able to see this? The people see this. And for those of you all who are his supporters and followers, and do you all not see this? And I wanted to play when I first started this series, about Umar shit. When I listened to that, Umar, at him asking folks if he should host a forum with his quote unquote haters, as if people are going to volunteer to show up as a hater. Yet I may, because I haven't come up with the pseudonym, if you will, for hate just yet. Yet I'm working on it. It's that's the spirit is working on that one. There is an appropriate pseudonym for, or acronym for, hate, and to be a hater and what that truly means. When we flip the script in order to see the truth about who we are as people, culturally speaking, right? And that was another thing in the last piece I wanted to say. I said earlier, I come from a narrative perspective. I come from I use a very scatological prose in my conversation, because I will say things and detail things in a way that makes it really raw and plain. So I will use language that's going to help make it very real and raw in terms of what people are experiencing in the sea of shit that we seem to exist in on this planet, and forced to live the cultural story that we live. I also come from addiction science, a pretty strong background in the field of addiction and recovery, and have worked in drug and alcohol and DNA settings for many years of my professional career. So I'm very well versed in addiction science. There's a third with trauma, and under trauma, that's the other major theoretical framework that I bring to the table when I talk about and teach about and share information about what I'm talking and teaching about. So trauma theory, addiction theory, and narrative theory, as well. It takes into account the intergenerational transmission because I am a systems theorist, and it's I'm not. It's just a very interesting um, reality that we live as a people, as an African people, um, um, from an African individual perspective, us as Africans, yet us as humans. First and foremost, us as humans. So that's all of the humans on the planet, because I do work with a variety in my practice of professional work. I work with all populations of people who present themselves for supports: black, white, male, female, young, old, um, um, Latino, Latina, Asian, even all groups. Folks from Africa, from the continent, I've had contact with. So as humans, we are all living the same shitty ass fucking stories on this planet. We live in the same shitty ass stories with how this government and this system is run and established, and how it treats the people, how it takes advantage of the people, and how it abuses its position of power and control, right? And that's a reality that all folks live with, humans, and more specifically, um, the process for me, as I understand it, in terms of fixing shit, it's like start with yourself first. Start with your own backyard. So I'm starting with myself first as a woman of African descent, and my thinking and my program and my work and my focus is on African descendants first. Myself, African first. So I will use myself and will share my stories, personal stories, to help mm, explain the concepts that may be presented, and I'm certainly open to and encourage questions. Let's talk, because it is about talk therapy, and talk therapy is extremely valuable when and if it's constructive. See, that's the difference between people are always shouting now these days. Oh, talking, see, we need to do something. We need to get up and do something. Oh, talk therapy, no more talking, time to do something. Part of that is because the way people have been talking has been in a very unhealthy and ineffective fashion, and it has not been very constructive because it's not been very sort of focused, and people do not seem to pay attention to what they're saying. Yet, when people go to treatment or therapy, that's talk therapy, yet it is much more a viable option when that talk therapy is more focused and constructive. So let's talk about healing. Let's talk about healing. How to heal. What steps do you take to heal? Listen to what I do to heal. You might try something that I've tried, or I may get an opportunity to try something that I hear you're doing. How are you managing in the system of racism? That's what this place is for. That's what this spot is for. This is the recovery room and the recovery zone, where we come and we share our experiences, our strengths, and our plans for getting up out of this shit. Okay? That's what makes it revolutionary as a 12-step program. We ain't dealing with no hopes. We coming up with a plan for getting up out of this shit. Okay? Yes. So I'm going to go ahead back into the groove here with my music, and maybe this will be the last video for tonight. I have a training to go to tomorrow morning, so I'm going to, put it down earlier tonight, this Friday night. And look forward to coming back and sharing with you over this weekend a few more let's talk some more shit. We're gonna come together and talk some more shit about this dude and his shit. This dude, um, And so until next time, I say, yo, thanks for listening to me share.